So today we're going to touch on a common socio-economic concept, which is gentrification. So Adam, can you elaborate a bit more on the concept?
Yeah, well, essentially the definition of gentrification is the changing character of a neighbourhood, which occurs due to changing demographics basically. So you'll see an influx of more wealthier residents and wealthier businesses coming into a particular area. It's a pretty big phenomenon which has definitely happened across Australian cities and right across the world.
So is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, to answer that, it really kind of depends on the perspective you're taking. So from the perspective of a property investor, which is most people here listening, it's a great thing because gentrification will lead to rising property values. So wealthier people will in turn attract more lifestyle infrastructure to go into the area, like cafes and restaurants and schooling and these types of things. So that's a great thing. But on the other side of the coin is the local residents. So the lower income earning local residents won't actually be able to afford to typically live within these areas which are gentrified, so they won't actually be able to benefit from a lot of the infrastructure that's been put into them.
That makes sense. So can you name some places that this has occurred?
Yep, definitely. Well, there's a recent study that's been done which kind of shows where the gentrification has been most accelerated or happened the most recently.
Yes.
And typically what you'd expect to see is for it to occur between kind of 0 and 5 kilometres in what's called like the inner ring for the cities, but in specifically looking at Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney.
Yeah.
But more recently, the most accelerated gentrification hasn't been happening in the 0 to 5 kilometre ring. In fact, not a whole lot has been happening in that ring. It's been in the middle ring of these markets. So that's the 5 to 15 kilometre radius from each city. So for Sydney, it's quite spread, but in the east now, it's more markets like Chifley, Maroubra, towards the airport, like Mascot. In the inner west, like Marrickville, Dulwich Hill. With Melbourne, the kind of inner southeast is already quite gentrified. It's quite affluent already. So it's not really going through a whole lot of gentrification. You've seen a lot more happening more towards the north side, middle ring, and the kind of northwest and west of Melbourne CBD. And for Brisbane, like Sydney, it's quite spread. So in the north, south, east and west, but markets in the south like Maroubra, Moree, out towards the east is like Cannon Hill. In the north is areas like Stafford and Chermside, and markets like that right across the city.
Perfect. Well, thank you for elaborating on that.
Yeah, I hope that's easy to understand. It's an interesting socio-economic concept.